Now at 9, how city officials in Caney, Kansas are working to resolve an issue with the city's water system. Plus, a longtime Joplin hardware store announces it is closing up shop. And
6 years of former President Trump's tax returns are now public. I'm Lauren Blanchard in Washington. I'll have a closer look at what was in there coming up.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. I'm Jalen Banks. One small Montgomery County, Kansas town is dealing with the latest in a sequence of water issues. The latest problem started on Christmas Day for Caney's 1,700 residents. And KOAM's Jana Haldala looks at what the city is doing to fix the problem.
After a long summer and fall dealing with drought and logjams, the city of Caney is facing another water issue. This time, it's because of the cold weather.
The river had turned over and was so concentrated with silt and soot. I went out to the plant and worked with our operator, and we were having trouble getting water to filter through the filtering process of the plant.
The city workers are doing their best to take care of the situation.
We've been running since last Thursday, 24 hours a day, up at the plant trying to keep it clean to get water back to town.
Cold weather not only brought problems with the water plant, but it also froze pipes. Zellner says the city is working with residents to lower the water usage. The city is grateful for the help they have gotten during the hard times.
We've been distributing bottled water to people. We started that Monday morning, and up to right now we've distributed over 20 pallets of bottled water.
The city crew has now increased the pressure of the filters.
Pressure's good. We just have to get tests sent off to the labs for the state for them to approve us to go off the boil order.
The next step is sending water samples to lab on Tuesday.
Of course, Monday's a holiday, so as soon as we can get them to them Tuesday, it's 24 hours before we'll know, and hopefully by the following day on Wednesday, if everything goes well, we'll be off that boil order.
In Caney, Jana Haldala, KOAM News.
Zellner says now that they understand the deeper protocol of cleaning, they can keep their filters up to a greater efficiency level in the future. One of Joplin's oldest downtown businesses will close down next month. Pearl Brothers hardware store opened up more than 100 years ago in 1905. It will officially close on January 28th. The current owner is retiring and says at the age of 67, he just can't keep up with the demanding work of a hardware store.
Health issues. I've been on my feet walking these floors for almost 50 years, and it's time. There's new technology in today and computer science that I don't understand, and at my age I don't want to learn.
Blue Haven Investments in Homes in Joplin has a contract to buy the building in the Pearl Brothers name. Officials say they plan to renovate the building. The Caney Police Department is asking the public for their help in locating a suspect in a recent felony theft case. They are searching for 43-year-old Latasha Devon Stewart, also known as Latasha Norwood. They say she tricked the cashier at Dollar General into placing more than $100 on a gift card on Christmas Eve. After investigation, they discovered she has numerous aliases, an extensive criminal history in several other states for similar crimes. If you have any information on the suspect, you are asked to call the Caney Police Department. One man is dead following a crash in Cherokee County, Kansas. It happened around 6:30 this morning on Baghdad Road near the Kansas-Missouri state line. Authorities say 21-year-old Ashji Zared of Miami, Oklahoma went off the road. His vehicle then overturned and hit a tree. Zared died in the crash. His passenger was not injured and walked to a nearby convenience store to get help. All right, and now we move to weather. Sam, what do you have for us?
Well, I've got some bad news. Some good and bad news. We're still in the drought. That's the bad news, especially over southeastern Kansas. It's in the extreme or exceptional category for many of our locations out towards the west. However, in southwestern Missouri, things are improving as far as the drought goes, and we're going to see some more rain chances in our forecast. But over the last 36 hours, we set a record high yesterday, and then we dropped down into the 30s this morning, and we only made it up into the lower 50s today, and now we're starting to slide back down into the 30s later on tonight. You can see mostly fair skies with a low of around 37 degrees. And taking a look down the lane, we're going to have a sunny Saturday across the area and a breezy Sunday ahead of the next storm system that arrives on Monday. And what about the cold air? Is it going to return? Well, I have the answer in just a little bit.
The foundation is laid for a memorial bench in honor of the late Corporal Ben Cooper and Officer Jake Reed. Last March, the two Joplin officers died after an exchange of gunfire with a suspect in the parking lot in front of Buckle at the North Park Crossing Shopping Center. The bench has already been made by Quality Memorials with the help of some other area businesses. It will be placed on the pedestal during the ceremony near the anniversary. Today, the House has released years of former President Trump's tax returns. The release after a lengthy legal battle to get the returns, and in some years, it shows the former president paid little to no federal income taxes. Fox's Lauren Blanchard has more from Washington.
Just days before the House swings from Democratic to Republican-controlled, the Ways and Means Committee has released thousands of pages of long-sought-after tax returns from former President Donald Trump from 2015 through 2020. As a candidate and then as president, Mr. Trump declined to release the filings because he claimed they were under audit.
They're extremely complex. People wouldn't understand them.
The filings show that in the last 6 years, the former president paid $750 in federal income taxes in 2016 and 2017, and nothing in 2020. That's because he reported losses in the millions.
The self-described clever genius who brags of his wealth almost daily, and he did not pay the taxes that the most modest wage earner in this country would pay.
In 2019, the Ways and Means Committee requested Trump's returns to probe the IRS's mandatory presidential audit program, but found the audits had been halted. The Democratic-led committee wanted to know why.
In Donald Trump's particular case, we have to recognize that the presidential audit program was completely broken.
The former president responded in a statement that the filings show he knows how to use the tax code and, quote, the great USA divide will now grow far worse. The radical left Democrats have weaponized everything. But remember, that is a dangerous two-way street.
Republicans warned releasing the filings would set a bad precedent, especially now that they're about to control the House and could launch probes into President Biden's family. In Washington, Lauren Blanchard, Fox News.
KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14 takes this time to honor another Forsade hero. Bert Shrum served in the U.S. Army. The prior Oklahoma native was stationed in New Guinea, the Philippines, and Japan. We salute technician 4th grade Bert Shrum, a Forsade hero. Coming up, what we're learning about the suspect in custody for the murder of 4 Idaho college students. Police say they've arrested the man who they accuse of fatally stabbing 4 University of Idaho students. The suspect was taken into custody in Pennsylvania. Investigators are sharing new details about what they've uncovered with the arrest. Fox reporter Caroline Shively reports from Washington.
Authorities say they've arrested this man on charges of first-degree murder in the case of 4 University of Idaho students stabbed to death nearly 7 weeks ago. Police tracked down 28-year-old Brian Christopher Koberger 2,500 miles away in Scranton, Pennsylvania.
No arrest will ever bring back these young students. However, we do believe justice will be found through the criminal process.
Koberger has been on the loose since the early morning hours of November 13th, when the bodies of Xana Kernodle, Maddie Mogan, Kaylee Gonsalves, and Ethan Chapin were found at the women's rental home near campus. Autopsies showed the 4 were likely asleep when they were stabbed multiple times. Some had defensive wounds, but authorities report there was no sign of sexual assault.
Nothing we do can bring them back. The only thing that we can do in law enforcement to honor their memories that we know of is to bring this to a successful conclusion.
Residents of Moscow, Idaho, expressed frustration that police took so long to even name a suspect, but some crime experts are praising the investigation.
The police played it the way they were supposed to play it. In other words, they didn't just opine on things that they didn't have. They were working on evidence, and that was a very complicated crime scene.
Koberger is listed as a PhD student in the Department of Criminal Justice at Washington State University in Pullman, about a 15-minute drive from the crime scene. In Washington, Caroline Shively, Fox News.
And Sam joins us next with a complete look at the forecast. And later in sports, it's the final day of the Neosho Holiday Classic at Neosho High School. We'll have highlights.
Well, friends, it was a little bit cooler today than we had that yesterday with that record high temperature. Those are the kind of records we like setting this time of year, but unfortunately we're going to head back to more normal conditions in our forecast. But at least we have a couple more days of nice weather. Let's take a look outside right now. On Skywatch Tracker Radar, you can see that it's all clear across our area here in the 4 states, but a little bit of shower activity still over in southern Illinois, but that is moving away from us, and winter storm watches are out for the Dakotas ahead of the next storm system. We made it up to 53 today, starting out at 36, which of course was above the normals of 45 and 26. But check out the records, -9 back in 1983, and we were 70 degrees on this date back in 1951. Now, I wanted to take a look at the monthly temperatures this last year and just to kind of show you what we've had this year. We started out below normal for January all the way through April, but then look what happened in May, June, July, way above normal, and then we are slightly below normal for November, December. When you factor it all out, we come out to about 1.5 degrees below normal for the entire year of 2022. All right, let's take a look at the satellite. You can see that some clouds over us today is now moving away from us. There's more cloud and it's starting to spill down over the Rockies, and that's ahead of the next storm system that's organizing now over the western United States, creating lots of flooding problems for California and Oregon. That's going to be affecting our weather as we move into Monday. But temperatures right now are not that bad. Generally in the upper 30s to around 40 degrees, 39 down in Grove, 39 also in Veneta, a little bit cooler in Parsons where they're currently sitting at 34 degrees. Now we are about 10 to 15 degrees cooler tonight than we were 24 hours ago. So we're kind of heading in the wrong direction as far as the temperatures go. Right now in Joplin we're sitting at 41, but the wind is calm, so it feels like 41 out there. The dew point's 33, and the pressure is currently steady. Your forecast for tonight looks like this. Temperatures dropping into the mid-30s with partly cloudy skies. Our winds are going to be turning around to a more southerly direction. And then as we go through the day tomorrow, partly cloudy skies with temperatures warming into the 60s for the most part. There will be some 50s up towards the north, but still pretty nice day. Then as we go into Saturday night and Sunday morning, clouds start to move away and then they kind of form back again up to the north and west with lows generally in the 40s. So that'll feel pretty nice. And then as we go through the day on Sunday, temperatures will be warming up into the 60s with strong south winds ahead of the next storm system. And then as we go into Monday morning, we're going to see mostly cloudy skies with lows only in the 50s, but that's before the storms start to develop and the rain starts to move in from the west. Here's a look down the road. We're going to see that storm system start to impact our weather as we go into Monday, pulling out into the plains, spelling some stormy weather for us. Then it's going to get a little bit chilly behind it, not as cold as it has been, but still a little bit closer to normal. Rainfall amounts are generally going to be in the 3/4 inch range and higher south and east, around 1/3 of an inch here in the metro area and lesser amounts off towards the north and west. Your next 7 days looks like this. 62 tomorrow, 64 Sunday, 66 on Monday before the storms arrive, and some of those could be strong or severe, so please stay tuned over the weekend. We'll keep you updated on that, and then returning to more normal conditions early part of next week.
When you had showed like the average temps for the year, July was literally off of the charts.
Yeah, that's an error.
Because the banner at the top had covered it. But man.
Yeah, actually that was a mistake. I'll have to go back and figure that out. But yes, it was the warmest. We were like 6 degrees above normal that month. So that made a big difference.
Well, it's one we won't forget. All right, thank you, Sam. Coming up, a look back at everything the Biden administration did and didn't accomplish this year.
The White House is touting President Biden's accomplishments this year, but many people feel there's still a lot of work to be done. I'm Lucas Tomlinson in Washington. I'll have that story coming up.
The White House is touting its victories as 2022 comes to a close. Fox correspondent Lucas Tomlinson is in Washington with why not everyone thinks this year is a cause for.
The White House claims a host of accomplishments, but many Americans still see high inflation and other major issues unresolved. As 2022 comes to a close, many Americans are not feeling so optimistic. Some 2/3 think the country is on the wrong track on President Biden's watch. The 80-year-old president, the oldest in U.S. history, has an approval rating that remains underwater, just 43.5%. That didn't stop Biden's chief of staff from claiming the following accomplishments.
He got over 250 bills passed. They lowered prescription drug costs. They lowered health care premiums. They brought down your energy costs. They reformed gun laws for the first time in 30 years. A record number of manufacturing jobs, the most diverse set of federal judges in history.
White House officials say they have high hopes for 2023, the press secretary tweeting. After building the most significant legislative record since LBJ, 2023 will be a big year delivering for the American people. But former Deputy Chief of Staff to George W. Bush, Karl Rove, said in the Wall Street Journal, quote, 2023 will be focused on Mr. Biden's re-election rather than governing. The head of the Republican National Committee also weighed in.
With inflation still there, we see what's happening at the border. And so it's once again Joe Biden painting one America that he thinks exists and the American people living in the reality of more and more uncertainty.
As President Biden weighs another run for the White House, a USA Today poll says less than 1% of Americans want a president his age in 2024. In Washington, Lucas Tomlinson, Fox News.
Up next, we'll learn about a breakthrough in cryopreservation technology that could help save the Great Barrier Reef. Major research institutions link together to help save the world's largest coral reef system through new preservation techniques. The Smithsonian and 2 other Australian conservation agencies are working to save the Great Barrier Reef through preserving coral eggs and sperm bundles and a new cryopreservation process using mesh technology. The new cryo mesh will allow scientists to help produce more coral larvae quicker and throughout the entire year. 30 more minutes of news, weather, and sports coming your way. We'll meet a Joplin High School student with his own zoo at his home. Plus, why plans to build a Menards in Joplin could already be in jeopardy. KOAM is always looking to hear from aspiring young journalists, so we're continuing a program where we air stories shot, written, and edited by local students. The next story comes from Joplin High School. Some people have dogs and cats as pets. Others have kangaroos. Joplin Eagles television student reporter Miles Griffith introduces us to a student with his own zoo at his home.
Gavin Hollingshead spends much of his time after school watering his emus. It's just one of his many pets at his house. He's a College Heights Cougar and a student in the Franklin Tech Jet HD program. He doesn't own cougars or eagles, but he could someday.
It's very weird. It's abnormal, even. You know, normally you go inside, you got a cat, maybe you got a dog running around outside. And then I go outside and I see this, and this is very abnormal and weird.
It is weird, but cool. But what is his favorite?
So, my favorite animal out here is probably the male emu. The female emu, she's a little mean to him, but I really like the male one because he just kind of chills. He's borderline a cat. He likes to be pet.
He also has kangaroos, camels, and miniature horses. So what does it take to take care of them each day?
We have to get food, and typically that food is in larger bags. You gotta break up fights between some of the animals, because some of them can get a little trying to assert their dominance, which is funny. You know, you really just gotta make sure that they don't get themselves hurt.
Gavin's mom, Audra, says the family just loves exotic animals.
The biggest exotic animal auction is in Macon, Missouri. And we were walking around and a guy had a pouch, kept like looking in it, and I asked him what was in it, and he pulled out a baby kangaroo, and it was just so cute. And so and we had him for a couple of years and he did well, so we got some females and it's just kind of grown from there.
Gavin says his family is next looking to get a monkey to add to the farm.
If anyone knows where I can get a baby kangaroo from, please by all means send them my way. And again, thank you to Joplin High School student Miles Griffith for that report. As the holiday draws near, the Boys and Girls Club of Joplin hosted a New Year's party. The event included a raffle draw, bounce house, and live music from a DJ. There's still some hope for Menards to find itself a home in Joplin. KOAM reached out to the Menards on the status of the retail chain, and they wrote back, with the present economics and regulatory chaos in Washington, we have to put new stores on hold pending a return or non-return to economic common sense. end quote. We then reached out to the city of Joplin, and they confirmed that building Menards is still an active project. It's another day of Russian air attacks on Ukraine, but Kyiv says it's shot down all of the explosive-laden drones launched on Friday. Fox News correspondent Nate Foy has more from Kyiv, Ukraine.
The Russian air attacks are unrelenting. 16 Iranian-made drones targeted Ukraine Friday. They were all shot down, but there is minor damage reported in the capital of Kyiv. The new wave of attacks coming just one day after Russia fired 69 rockets and 11 Iranian-made drones, hitting critical infrastructure throughout the country, leaving millions in the bitter cold just 2 days before the new year.
Everyone understands that the worst scenario is when there is a complete blackout for some time. I don't know how long it can last.
During Thursday's attack, a Ukrainian air defense missile allegedly went off course and landed in Belarus, a key Russian ally to Ukraine's north. Russia said Friday they're, quote, extremely concerned by it, prompting fears it could be used as a pretext for retaliation. As intense fighting continues in the east, Ukraine is investigating more than 58,000 potential Russian war crimes that have all taken place in the past 10 months. Officials say those crimes, including kidnappings and murders, are still happening in occupied territories, and the only way to stop them is liberating those areas.
Give Zelensky the weapons that he needs as quickly as we can so that we can end this, end the killing, end the suffering.
Also on Friday, Russian President Vladimir Putin met with his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping. Neither president talked about Ukraine directly, but President Putin did mention improving the military cooperation between the two countries. Reporting in Kyiv, Ukraine, I'm Nate Foy, Fox News.
A bit later, keeping your pets safe during those New Year celebrations.
The start of the new year could be one of the more stressful times for our pets. I'm Caroline Shively in Washington with more on what animal advocates say pet owners should keep in mind this holiday weekend.
Well, friends, we were a little bit cooler today than yesterday's record high of 71, but we are still above normal for this time of year, and we'll take a look at that in a moment. Right now, let's look outside at Seneca, Missouri at Indigo Sky Casino and Resort. Pretty nice evening shaping up down there. Radar is all clear except in our region, but there are a few showers over in southern Illinois, but those are now starting to move over into Indiana further away from us. And there's already some winter storm watches in effect for parts of Nebraska and the Dakotas. That's ahead of the next storm system that's going to impact us as we move through the forecast. This afternoon, we made it up to 53 after starting out at 36, which of course was above the normals of 45 and 26. At least we weren't anywhere near that -9 back in 1983. However, over this year, we have had an above normal summer and a below normal winter and spring. So it all averaged out to about 1.5 degrees below normal on our temperatures for 2022. Satellite view this afternoon shows those high thin cirrus clouds moving over our area. No precipitation with that. But notice out to the west, here's some more cirrus starting to spill over from the Rocky Mountains. That is in advance of the next storm system that's really slamming into the west coast, creating some flash flooding and some wind problems for them. But we're going to be dealing with that on Monday. Let's take a look at the temperatures right now. Generally in the 30s, a few 40s thrown in too, with 41 in Carthage, 42 in Neosho, but it's already down to 33 degrees for the cool spot over there in Iola. Temperatures this evening are generally around 10 to 14 degrees below what they were yesterday at this time. So we are on the upward swing as we head towards the weekend, but we are a little bit chillier tonight than we were last night. Right now we're 41. The wind is calm, so at least it feels the same as the temperature. Dew point's 33 and the pressure is currently steady. Forecast for tonight, a few passing clouds, but notice the winds are going to start coming around to the south, and that means warmer temperatures. Generally lows will be in the mid-30s across our area, maybe some lower 30s up to the north. And then as we go through the day tomorrow, we're going to see partly cloudy skies with temperatures rising into the 60s on strong south winds and upper 50s up towards the north. And then Saturday night into Sunday morning, we'll see lows dropping down into the 40s across our area with increasing clouds. And those winds are really going to start picking up, especially as we head into Sunday afternoon. They could be gusting well over 30 to 35 miles per hour with highs in the 60s, even some mid-60s down in Oklahoma and upper 50s up towards the north. Then as we go into Monday morning, we're going to see mostly cloudy skies with the moisture really increasing with lows generally only in the 50s. But then the storms are going to start developing Monday afternoon, and those are going to roll our way as we head through the afternoon and evening hours. Here's a look at the forecast across the nation. Here's that storm system dipping down into the plains over on Monday, creating some stormy conditions for us. Once that moves away, we'll have some colder, chillier air move in behind it, but at least it won't be devastatingly cold like we've seen over the last couple of weeks. Rainfall amounts are going to be more generous off to the south and east, where they could pick up around 2.5 in Branson, around ½ an inch here in the metro, and lighter amounts towards the north and west. Over the next 7 days, here's your forecast. 62 tomorrow, 64 Sunday, 66 on Monday. Well, some of the storms could be strong to severe, Jalen. We'll have to keep a close eye on that. Then it turns cooler as we head towards the middle part of next week.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, Sam. We all know that there are lots of benefits when it comes to kids, and Nichelle Medina reports on the benefits of team sports and how they may go beyond just being physically active.
11-year-old Devin Silvestri enjoys the rush of stealing bases as his proud mom cheers him on.
I like playing baseball because I get to hang out with my teammates.
He calls them his brothers. He treats them like brothers, and they hang out almost every day of the week.
That sense of camaraderie could be one reason behind the findings of a recent study that suggests participating in team sports may be beneficial for children's mental health.
We don't often do a great job of looking at, is sport always beneficial? Is it perhaps sometimes stressful?
Dr. Matt Hoffman is an assistant professor of kinesiology at California State University, Fullerton. His team analyzed data on more than 11,000 children ages 9 to 13 and found those who played team sports had fewer signs of anxiety, depression, social problems, and attention difficulties. Kids who only played individual sports had greater mental health difficulties than those who did not play any sports.
You are taking, all the responsibility for a loss. You might perceive maybe that your parents or coaches, really have high expectations for you.
For Devin, there's a special bond he feels with his team, one that helps him get through the wins and the losses.
They just cheer you up when you're just down in a game.
Being on a team helped him become more social and more confident in what he does.
Fun and friendships formed on this field that will last a lifetime.
And speaking of team sports, the Mosa women finish up their non-conference schedule against Illinois Springfield. Plus, Neosho and Monette meet for the third place at the Neosho Holiday Classic. Jacob has those highlights and more next.
Today is the final day of the Neosho Holiday Classic at Neosho High School. On the girls' side, tournament host Wildcats have a shot at the championship today, facing Fort Smith Northside in the title game. And for Neosho, it's the first championship game appearance in the Holiday Classic in 6 years. A fast start for Northside. Ariana Gooden gives it up to Cherish Blackman on the break. She lays it in. Timeout Neosho. Karis Washington, really good tonight for Northside. Drives here, scores, and the foul. Washington scores 26. Northside holds Neosho without a field goal in the first half. The Wildcats get something going in the third. Becklin Garrett, nice cut. Lays it in for two. Then Malin Garrett, driving down the lane, finishes with the left. The third quarter, definitely the best quarter for the Wildcats. It just wasn't enough to get back in it. Neosho falls 51-19. Finishes the Holiday Classic runner-up. On the boys' side, two local teams playing for third place, with Neosho facing Monette. Early on, Blaine Salzman loses it, collects it, and hits the reverse. Monette up 2. But Neosho catches fire to close the quarter. Kale Smith steals it, gets it ahead to Isaiah Green. Green finishes and the foul. He gets a team-high 15 points plus 10 assists. Carter Bosley also a double-double. Tough shot goes. 12 points, 10 rebounds for Bosley. Then Michael Day gets the hot hand 3 from the right side. And late in the first, straight away for another 3. Neosho scores 21 straight in the first quarter. They're up 16 at half. But Monette not going away. Back to Salzman for 3. Cubs pulled within 6 in the fourth. Kale Smith, though, working inside for the Wildcats. 11 points, 6 boards for Smith. Neosho holds off Monette to take third at the Classic, winning 54-41.
We're 8-2 so far, and that was one of our better wins, I think, because it would have been really easy. The last 3 years we've been in the finals of the tournament, so it had been really easy to just kind of lay down after, huge crowds, primetime game coming in at noon, not as big a crowd, against a team that we'd already beat that's really going to want to beat us, to lay down, but we didn't, and we kind of set the tone for how the game was going to be right out of the gate, and that carried us on through.
Missouri Southern women are 11-1 coming out of the holiday break. They'll be back to their MIAA schedule on Monday, facing the Pittsburgh State Gorillas. First, though, the 9th-ranked Lions finish up their non-conference schedule tonight at home against Illinois Springfield. The start of the game, Amaya Johns gets the lay-in. She's one of 4 Lions to score in double figures. She gets 12. Haley Grant, corner 3. Grant scores 11, goes 4 for 7 from the field. Elaine Skiles in the second gets a 3, one of her 2 threes. She scores 10. Now before the half, Mia Topping and the foul. Hits the ground hard, but all smiles for the Lions. They're up 52-21 at half. And in the second half, Lacey Stokes, 7 steals on the night. Takes that one the other way. She gets a team-high 14 points. All 12 players score for Southern. They dominate this one 93-47. The Kansas City Chiefs are 12-3 with just 2 games left in the regular season. Sunday, the Chiefs play at home against the division rival Denver Broncos. Like we do every Friday night during the season, right now, it's time to hear from the voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holtis, in this week's Minute with Mitch.
The Chiefs begin the new calendar year a rematch against the Denver Broncos. Now, when the Chiefs captured the AFC West title a couple weeks ago in the 7th straight year and did it against Houston, it pulled the Chiefs even. How about starting the new year with this nugget? The Chiefs have won the AFC West 15 times. The Raiders have won the West 15 times. The Chargers have won the West 15 times. And the Broncos, they've won the West, you got it, 15 times. Now, it took number 15, Patrick Mahomes and his teammates, to even the score in a division as competitive as any since 1960. Now, what's the perfect way to ring in the new year? How about a 15th straight victory over the Denver Broncos? Happy New Year on this Minute with Mitch. The Minute with Mitch is brought to you by Como Jewelry. Every day's game day, Como Jewelry, Pittsburgh, Joplin.
Sunday's Chiefs-Broncos game will begin at noon on our sister station, KOAM Channel 7. In that game, by the way, the Chiefs are 12.5-point favorites. That's a look at sports. We're back with more news after this.
As many of us prepare to ring in 2023, animal advocates are urging pet owners to keep in mind the holidays can not only be stressful, but potentially deadly for our 4-legged friends. Fox News correspondent Caroline Shively has more on pet safety tips to consider this holiday weekend.
With the start of 2023 just around the corner, animal advocates say now is the time to start thinking about pet safety, particularly protecting pets from becoming distressed by fireworks or loud celebrations.
Make sure you prep your home for those neighbors or mischievous youngsters that want to pop fireworks and firecrackers around your neighborhood, because this could be really jarring for animals.
But it's not just loud noises that can quickly ruin holiday celebrations for our 4-legged friends. Experts warn toxic substances are more plentiful and accessible around the house this time of year. Poinsettia plants and mistletoe, for example, can be poisonous to pets. And chocolate, experts say, may be delicious to us, but particularly harmful to dogs.
The most important thing is that folks are cognizant of the food and the plants that are in your house that could be toxic to your pet.
And while the cold weather can feel refreshing, animal advocates warn this is not the time of year to leave pets outside unattended.
They get frostbite on exposed skin, paw pads, and ears, just like people do.
If you want to spoil your pets around the holidays, experts encourage skipping the extra treats and say it's better to give a little more attention or an extra walk. In Washington, Caroline Shively, Fox News.
Coming up, Taylor Swift finishes the year strong, breaking her own records. That and more Hollywood news next. Congratulations are in store for Nick Cannon. Also, Taylor Swift rounds out the year breaking her own records on the charts. We have that and more in today's Hollywood Nation with Ashley Dvorkin.
A movie for Marvel legend, Swift's latest record, and Cannon's family expands in the Hollywood nation. Nick Cannon and Alyssa Scott have welcomed a daughter, their second baby together, and Cannon's 12th child. Scott posted a video announcing the arrival along with a tribute honoring their son Zen, who died last year. She shared Halo Marie Cannon was born December 14th. Cannon welcomed his 11th child, beautiful Zeppelin Cannon, in November with Abby De La Rosa. It's me. Taylor Swift is back at the top of the Billboard Artist 100. The success of her album Midnights helps her extend her own record-setting feat of 58 weeks. Recently, the tune Antihero also topped the radio songs chart, making Swift the first artist to have reigned there in the 2000s, 2010s, and 2020s. This all follows the superstar previously becoming the first artist to claim all top 10 spots on the Billboard Hot 100 in one frame. And an original documentary, Stan Lee, about the life of the legendary comic book creator, is heading to Disney Plus in 2023. Marvel Entertainment shared the news December 28th, which would have been Lee's 100th birthday. The video on Marvel's socials was posted with the caption, 100 years of dreaming, 100 years of creating, 100 years of Stan Lee. Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
Well, that's our time for tonight, and thank you guys so much for joining us. But before you go, we'll leave you with the video of animals at the London Zoo eating some treats off of Christmas trees. Be safe, and we'll do this all again tomorrow. See you then.